The Royal Horticultural Society have said we are in crisis. The industry is lacking youngsters coming through. This is Eggleston Hall Gardens, and over the next 12 months we're going to take you on a journey of what it's like to run a nursery garden. What a beautiful morning. What a lovely day. You know, it's week 13 and there's two ways we can handle this. I can be bloody miserable and make every other fucker miserable, or we can look for the good things. Now here's something. New life. These are some maple seeds I sowed from our main varieties. Now they're not going to be main varieties. I could always use them as rootstocks and then graft in bits of the parent plant, but they are seedlings from Trompenberg, from Autumn Moon, from Shirasawanium aureum, and from Bloodgood. You can see the red stems, so you can tell that the ones that are going to be really, really dark red. And while they may not be the name varieties, they will make perfectly good young plants at a much less expensive price, because we don't have to fanny on grafting them. Just grow them on for a year or two. The other good thing is, just here, there's not very many, because they've been sown 2 or 3 years now. This is Acer griseum, the paper bark maple. And I'm looking at these and thinking, hey, I've got about 12 plants there. And they're just starting to wake up, and I can tell in that pot that the grit is just rising up. There's like an air pocket underneath. That's because the young seedlings are pushing up. Just leave those and they may well be through. Here is some, well, I forgot. Yeah, what do you call it? Angelica, the dark, big umbellifera thing. Grows about 8 foot, but that's a really deep red one. And all of the little alpines that we did earlier in the year, you remember me fannying on with them? Well, a lot of them have flowered, and they're starting to spread now. They're starting to make slightly bigger plants. Look at that, a little mat is starting to form. I'm going to miss everybody. My staff, you know, are in what they call furlough. There's a thing that the government's introduced where a percentage of their wages will be paid and they are just put on hold. I think it's going to last a few weeks, and hopefully we can then, there'll be some movement in this virus. But there's no point, there's nothing I can do about it. There's no point bitching on about it and sitting down, you know, in a face like a fiddle. I know it's going to be difficult. Look, that's a little helianthemum. That's called raspberry ripple. It's actually a really nice one. Those were little cuttings from, I don't know, last August, I think. I know that because it says so on the label. Yeah, let's get on. Now there's an interesting picture. That's a tap. Can you believe it? That's a tap. Is that really exciting? Well, not in itself, no. But what I have to do is reset up all the irrigation. All this irrigation, this nursery has to be irrigated. It's really more important now than ever because I'm not going to have any staff for I don't know how long. So watering is going to be imperative. Hand watering is best because you can judge it. But over the course of the winter, these have all been dismantled and drained down. It's really imperative that I get all of these drippers in and working, and for some reason you get algae in them and they build up. There's like a crud in the drippers, and some of them don't work, and rather than fart about with them, it's actually often more economical just to put a new dripper in. You know, they don't last forever. This here has got to have a whole new system put in, which is a bit irritating, but nothing I can do. This here, as we did with the shade hall earlier in winter, if you remember, we put a new irrigation system in there. This bed I intend to line young plants out on. Well, that's just got to have some drippers and some pipe work put on it. That one's got to be re-established, set up, and then I have to go down through the whole nursery. And a lot of the pots that have been repotted, they haven't had drippers put back in. It will take me about 4 weeks, but it is imperative because we're not, Lisa and I are not going to get time to just go round hand water it as much as we would like to. So today I will mostly be doing irrigation, and next week and the week after. What a beautiful day, isn't it? Look at that. What a lovely day. Birds are singing, rabbits are shagging. Lucky buggers. Now I'm not going to re-establish the borehole just yet. Sorry, the main pump. I'll set that all up in a while, another 2 or 3 weeks. I can run, because I don't need so much water just yet, I can run direct off the borehole. So it comes out the ground, comes up through a little filter, a little non-return valve. You're going to love this. Down that blue pipe, outside to this network of taps. This is just my box it's an old wooden box, it's just for, it has all bits and pieces in. And I carry that around with me when I'm doing irrigation. And these taps, they just send the water to different parts of the nursery. If I want the borehole to fill up the main tank quickly, then I can use that tap. But what I need to do now is to get the taps to the nursery, lower nursery, turned off, because I'm going to be working up the top. So I need to turn, well, I don't really need to turn that off. This is the main tap for the lower nursery, so I turn that off. The borehole comes out through from this pipe, and instead of going to the lower nursery, this one here will take it to the upper beds and the upper nursery. So I'm going to release that one. Hey, I mean, it's really exciting for some of you. You can actually tune in to a YouTube channel and watch some silly fucker turning on a bloody tap. It will get better, I promise. Look, there's a thrush up there. We have quite a big population of thrushes. Can you see him? Here he is. Sing like hell. They have the most beautiful song. There we are, Pulsatilla vulgaris, the pasque flower. Beautiful thing, isn't it? Lovely golden centre. You can see some of these other plants here, they've got several lovely flowers coming through, flower buds. Now, here's a lovely little plant. You don't often see it. These are young ones that we divided last, well, I don't know when we did them actually, but it weren't that long ago. A few weeks ago. So can't really sell them. But it's a Primula grandiflora rosea. Easy to grow, beautiful little thing. A little rockery or front of the border little plant. Even grows in a little bit of shade. Right, just been putting some new sprinklers in. The old birds are going at it. Hey buddy, woodpeckers, pheasants. All sorts. I think you're liking this less people about. It's bloody quiet. Especially with that plant. I really miss that girl. Now see in there, that is where Thomas put hedgehog. And there's been a lot of disruption of the cover in there. So I'm reckoning there's nothing stinking. Yeah, look at that. No dead body, nothing rotten, and he's gone. That means he got through the winter. I think that's amazing. I'm really pleased about that. Welcome home. When I embarked on doing the year of videos, week 1 to week 52 of the English nursery garden, it was a question of thinking about what I'm going to do afterwards. And it's been in my mind for about 5 years now, 6 years, to take a garden, quite a medium-sized garden, largest garden, and turn it into, let it go, an overgrown garden, let it go, and just turn it into something practical and useful. At the same time, attractive. Now, I'm not a great lover of having a garden that's completely kitchen garden, but because I like having nice things around me, pretty plants, attractive plants. However, there is a compromise, and I want to try some experiments. So I've let my own garden go for about 5 or 6 years now. It's just been let go wild. You can see this old pond that I put in 25 years ago. It's just grown over. Some old arbors that I put up are tumbled down. There are trees that have been planted and they've gone. They've gone over. Just gone wild. The paths are full of nettles. These are old stone edge paths and the stones have all broken down. There are nettles everywhere down the bottom of the garden. Because it's my garden and I'm a bit of a collector, it has some very, very nice trees and shrubs in. I'm going to fall ass over it in a minute. So, what we're going to do is to take this garden over the next year or two. I had wanted to do it when I'd finished, but circumstances with this virus mean that I've got to rethink things a little bit. So there's no reason we can't start this now. These old apple trees, they've just been let go. Now they were large apple trees. They're on a semi-dwarfing rootstock, 12-15 feet, but they've always been kept short, as in dwarf pyramids. That's how I trained them. There are lots of maples. At the bottom of these trees are quite rare erythroniums, comasias. Lots and lots of things. Lots of really, really unusual and attractive things. Down at the bottom are some of the some conifers, and there's an old summer house where the tree has changed. It's not changed. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've got so much on my mind. It's changed in as much as it's fallen over and it's tumbled down onto the summer house. The summer house needs sorting out. Now I'd like to take you on another little journey over the next few years and transform this garden. Now here's an interesting plant. This is the Red River birch. I grew it from seed that came from North America, and you can see the bark. Look at that! Look at that! Isn't that incredible? And it'll be about 25-30 years now. There's lots and lots of little corners, lots of little microclimates, little micro areas. I forget what's here. I mean, this is an old garden. It's 250 years old. So I don't know what's there. I jazzed it up a bit when we came here and put some of my rarer plants in, but whatever there is, we can rehash. I want to really change this garden. It has so much in it, and while it's you know, it's attractive in itself, I want to make it more functional, more usable. Probably this grass has to go, this lawn area. I'm not that. I may turn it into sort of like a kitchen garden as well. I've been building the nursery up over the past 20 odd years, so I haven't had a lot of time for this. But it was going to be my project after the year's over, but I think we can have some overlap. And we can also deal with the individual plants, how to prune, what to do with them, where they thrive. Look at this. This is a Daphne Missourium, a white one. Can't stand the plant. The pink one's okay, but white one, I've just got it because you don't see it very often. But like a lot of white flowers, they just go brown around the edges. There's about 30 odd maples in this garden, but rarer ones. Bloody great Amelanchier. This is Arakawa, the cork bark maple. I've probably shown you this before. This is an old sink garden, so there is so much we can do, but it won't be for commercial reasons. It'll just be for our own pleasure and some functionality. See this old arbour I put in? It's all broken down and covered in ivy and ornamental vines. We can do a lot here. We can transform this. So there's another little journey we could take. Here's something. Sometimes we have ground that's covered with brambles. Now, experienced gardeners will know. People think, oh, they seed around all over the place. Generally, they don't. The problem with brambles is they root by tip cuttings, or by almost like tip layering. If you see here, you've got the main bramble. Pepper. If we follow the stem along, right the way through this hypericum, right the way to its end, which is about 12 foot away, you can see how it's rooted in. And this is just the tip. Now I've just pulled that off, but under there is a new plant, and that's rooted there. And that's how these bastards spread. They have 10, 20, 30 of these stems, and they all go around in a sort of 12-foot radius, diameter, circumference of a circle. I'll get it right in a minute. They all root themselves, and then they do it again the next year. And then before you know it, ground is a wilderness of new young plants. Just a wilderness of arching stems. So you need to get on top of them pretty sharpish. There you are. I've just dug that out. Now, this is just a wild bramble. Of course, if that was a cultivated blackberry, that's how we propagate them. But we do that deliberately. Not like these little buggers that have done themselves. Get that out now. As you can see, these apple trees have been let go. Sometimes 2 years growth. There's the extension growth from last year. And then when there's some laterals from the year before, and then down further, 3 years worth of growth. So we have to reduce these back. It's the last week of March at the moment. It's just about time. So we just head them back so that we got some reduced size to them. What we will do then, we'll get a lot of new growth throughout the course of this summer. And come early August, we'll nip that all back to one bud to start recreating fruiting spurs. This is one that's partially done. There's a little bit of disease on these trees. They're quite old, but to be honest, they're still fruiting, so you can live with it. This one's still to be done, and those 3 are still to be done. One of the things about protecting the irrigation or checking it out earlier on in the year is that we find out where there are leaks. Now this tap here is leaking from this joint. This is PVC pipe, and once it's cemented you can't uncement it. So what I'm going to have to do is cap it. I don't really need this piece here, this tap, because I'm never going to use another line on it. So what I can do is just cut this off here. The important thing is then to clean this pipe of any grease or crud or anything, and then I'll show you what we're going to do after that. So this is really interesting. This is been stopped off now. I've put an end piece on with a cap here. This cap can be removed so that I could put a tap in, or I could run another line off it if I wanted. But it's just been cut off and the cap's been put on. Before you do it, you have to clean the inside of the cap and the outside of the cut pipe with a solvent, really, because it keys the pipe. And then you apply a PVC pipe adhesive. You do it very quickly. You apply it to the inside of the cap and to the outside of the pipe, push the two together, and that should set in about 10-20 minutes. Obviously the whole thing is a bit shorter now, so I actually need to bring these two brackets in, but that'll go back on there and that should be okay for the summer then. These are the things that happen, you know. Over the course of winter things break and you have to do repairs, running repairs. My friend Matthew always refers to it as the irritation system rather than the irrigation, and I can see why, because it drives you crackers. It's just infrastructure work, and when you just want to grow plants, it just gets in the way sometimes, but it's invaluable. That bed there, if that wasn't under irrigation or the leak had got worse and I was away for a couple of days, I could lose thousands and thousands of pounds worth of plants just through drying out. So while I might complain about it, there's nothing much else I can do other than just get on with it. But it's nothing like a good bitch. These are her little mountain ash are just starting to break now. That's really, really lovely. It's a new variety on me called Olympic Flame. Some Cornus Mass. It was lovely earlier in the week. The first 2 days I was here, it was fine, beautiful and sunny, but now it's got really cold. There was night frosts and really damp and cold, you know, the sort of cold that cuts you to the bone. It's windy as well. But there you go. Amazing. There's nothing like pissing off the little birds. What do you say, Doris? Do you enjoy pissing off the little ones? Please just don't try and stand on the bird feeder. Well, now, despite being only late March, you look at the bottom of this blackberry. This is a cultivated blackberry. You can see those lovely fresh shoots. Now, just to explain, most of you probably know this, but those shoots will produce long canes, great big long canes that they won't bear any fruit this year. The canes themselves will just sit there. We'll probably tie them in a sort of a bundle later on, around about July time, just to keep them out the way. Now, these are the ones that we tied in up the wall are the ones that were like that last year. And at the end of last summer, they were tied in, and the previous year's ones cut out because they don't bear any more fruit. You can see there's one of the very old ones that Clara never cut back properly. Actually, I think it was me, but she's not here, so I can blame her. Anyway, those were last year's shoots, and they carry the fruit this year. The reason why we later in the year tie them all together in a bundle and just get them out of the way is so that the blackberries can ripen a little bit better. But that's how they work. They fruit on the previous year's growth. And then they're bugger, then you cut them out. And this is a loganberry. It works exactly the same. And there, I believe that's just an old tayberry. And that's the same as well. But they are very, very vigorous. Some of the thornless blackberries are not as vigorous as the thorny ones, and they have quite nice fruit. But them big old thorny ones, here they could go up the top of that wall easily if they wanted. But I tend not to want. Can't reach them. One of the irritating things is when we rely on other nurserymen or growers, in this case bulbs. We bought quite a lot of Camasias, Lictlinii, I think it's called Sakawa or something like that, Sakawia. Anyway, it's meant to have a variegated leaf, and if you look at it, that one's nice, but the others simply aren't. When you're growing things on order like this, it's quite important. You don't mind the odd one that's reverted or non-variegated, but in this case we got these from Parker's, I think, and it's just really annoying, especially if you're selling them before they're actually before they've done anything, because whoever you sell them to brings them back to you and says, hey, you've sold us something that's not what it says it is. And in actual fact, there's nothing we can do about it. It's actually, you know, it's not our fault that we buy them as finished bulbs. Never mind. Did we send them back last year?
Sorry?
Didn't we send them back last year?
No, we didn't send any back last year. It was the previous year. We didn't send anything back. I just rang them and told them that some things weren't the colour that they should have been.
And they didn't quibble?
No.
Because we had all those carulias, didn't we? Those Camasias again, carulia.
Yeah.
And the buggers turned out blue.
Yeah.
Things are sent to try us. Oh dear, there's a mouse in that box. I'll have to get them out. These little hollies have been potted up now. With the lavenders, if you remember a few weeks back we put these lavenders up here. They're looking nice. You can see all the nice fresh growth here. Nice little shoots. They will have responded to this couple of days of sun that we've had, and that nice variegated variety. I've never always been that keen on variegated plants, but it's doing well. It's called Platinum Blonde. I wonder what it is about blonde hair. Why do people assume that blondes are more attractive? You know, oh, blokes make jokes about it. Oh. What would you like for your birthday? A 6-foot blonde. Why? Why? What's wrong with dark-haired girls? I've never understood that. And why do women keep dyeing their hair blonde? You know, at a classroom with kids, there's usually about 1 or 2 blondes in it. When they're young, 4 or 5. By the time they're 16, there's about 90% of them are bloody blonde. I understand that. Well, here, what we're doing is just pricking out a few of these maples. Now, I'm just trying a few of these, but I've just taken advice from my friends down in the south, who you're going to be seeing a fair bit more of. That's Matthew and Laura down at Bartholomew's, and they have informed me that the best way of growing these maple seedlings is to wait and pot them on a little bit later. Now, I've always grown up, because I've never really done maple from seedlings that much, but I've always grown up that you and been taught that you prick on plants as soon as they're large enough to handle. But these, to get the best out of them, and Matthew and Laura are experts, I should be waiting a lot longer. So I'm just doing these ones to show you how we do it. But if you look at these here, you can see these are the cotyledons. These are the seed leaves. Now the true leaves are starting to come through from the middle here. You can just about see these are seedlings of bloodgood, which is a dark red variety, and you can see that the stems are quite dark red. Now I'm told that the time I should really be doing them is when these first two true leaves are fully expanded and mature. When you take one out now, and Matthew's quite right, he said to me, when you take the root out now, what you see, I'll just poke that one back in, is just a single white radical or root, a single root down there. You can see there. He said now when they get the first two true leaves, they stop for 2 or 3 weeks. They stop growing, and they believe that what happens is they then develop fibrous roots from this main root, and it's in that they do that in that dormant period when they're not growing leaves, and then they fly away. Now as he grows tens of thousands of them, I'm going to take his advice. Unfortunately, I'd already started these before I actually asked him. So when I do his, and they are better than doing them his way, and they are better than mine, I should be looking a dick. But I don't mind that. In fact, I'm quite used to it. One of the things we have with drippers is that over the course of the winter, when you walk along the rows to clean them, things get broken, or this one here, you can see that the header's been kicked out for whatever reason or broken off. And usually I can this here, the actual dripper has broken away from the it's actually sheared off, so in a minute I'll drop that off, I'll sort that out. But all we do is just put one of these caps on. We've already got a spike, so we don't need one of those, and then just insert another dripper. And you see I'm just pushing it in, and there. Now these red drippers, they are what we call pressure compensating. I'll explain that in a minute. I'll just turn this bugger off. Hang on there. There's no need to turn it off. So there's compensating ones and pressure compensating and non-compensating. With these pressure compensating ones, when the pressure drops, the dripper switches off. So if you get low pressure, nothing's going to come out. It is quite low pressure. If you didn't have those, when you're on uneven ground like this, if it didn't cut off, what would happen is the pots at the far end where it slopes, all the water would seep out of the line through the dripper into the bottom 2 or 3 pots. So we have these pressure compensating drippers, and that's all we do. Just put that back on there like that. With this one, where the pipe is broken, can you get in there, Lisa? You can see that. You can see it. I can just, it's very hard to film in situ. I'm just going to get my secateurs in there, and there's no point scratching about trying to pull it back out. You're better off just pushing it straight back in. And at this one I'm just going to put a cap in that's just going to close it off. It's just usually works okay. That just snips in there, and that's just sealed that hole off. They don't always work, sometimes they just seep a little bit, but most often. If it's sheared off, it's okay. It's where you've pulled the thing out and the pipe has split a bit that you just end up then having to cut the pipe and then put a connector in. There you are. So that's how we do that. I'm just going to turn it back on and we'll make sure that that's all worked. If it hasn't, I'll be really embarrassed. Yeah, so there's nothing coming out of that sealant, just a little drip, we can cope with that. And this one that we've repaired, and the red ones, as I say, there's a bit of air in there, that will drip 2 litres an hour. So obviously if I have that on for half hour, it's 1 litre. You don't need to be Einstein to work that out, but there are grey ones, right, and they do 4 litres an hour. So some of the bigger trees I'll put a grey dripper in, and then bloody hell, knackered now. Is that right? Without being too nerdy, you can actually you don't have to be a commercial grower to set up systems like this. If you have a backyard with lots of pots, it's not beyond the realms of possibility to set up something that's quite unobtrusive. You can do it, and then you just have to turn the tap on or put it on a timer to come on once or twice a day, when you're busy doing other things or are away. Fucking hell. It's alright for you, you've got a bloody hood. Right, let's get out of here. We tend to think today of the hydrangea paniculata as a modern invention, a modern creation or discovery. But in actual fact, in Victorian times, they were really well known. They were grown in stove houses for the cut flower market. A stove house is generally a glass house, that's kept above 60 degrees centigrade. Sorry, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. The Victorians worked in Fahrenheit. We work in Celsius, so that would be about 16 degrees Celsius. I need to get my temperatures right. But there you are, there's nothing new under the sun. It's a funny old life, isn't it, Tuck? We go into work. Well, I didn't think it was that funny.